Knowles on the News. Susan Knowles.
Hi, everyone. Some days you just have to speak up and say something. I wasn't scheduled to do a Knowles on the News today, but I just couldn't sit here and not come on. I did write some things, put it on my Facebook, and hoping that would be enough so that I wouldn't have to come on, but I just have to say what's on my mind. I am just appalled at what I'm seeing. Yesterday, Donald Trump came out and said basically he wants to stop all Muslims from coming into the United States until the process is fixed. Now, maybe he didn't say until the process is fixed in those exact words, but that's what he meant. Everyone knows that's what he meant. And immediately, people on the left came out, oh my gosh, you can't discriminate against people. You can't be that way. You can't say those things. What about First Amendment right of religion, freedom of religion? What about that, Mr. Trump? You can't say those things. Okay, back it up. You've been so politically correct so long that you can't think straight any longer. Let's back it up and let's start from common sense principles. We just had a shooting in San Bernardino, California, where two terrorists, one was an American citizen, happened to be a Muslim. The other one came from Pakistan, who also happened to be a Muslim. And they killed 14 people and injured quite a few more. There is a reason, a very rational reason, that people in the United States right now would not want Syrian refugees, Muslims predominantly, coming into this country until the vetting process has been fixed, if it can be fixed. Because we know with the female in the San Bernardino shooting, she was vetted on a fiancé visa, and apparently she got in and she helped to kill people. I mean, let's use some common sense. Let's take it out of the realm of people for a moment. Maybe you'll feel better about this. Let's pretend we have a hen house with hens in them. And let's pretend we have some foxes who want to come into the hen house. Maybe not always a good idea because we're kind of untrusting of the foxes in the first place. Because, see, to a fox, his job is to get the hens. Now, for those people who follow the Quran to the letter, their jobs are to get the Christians. Let's make no bones about that. It is what it is. Let's quit pretending that it's this peaceful religion and something else. It isn't. For those people who follow it to the letter, their job is to kill infidels. I mean, read it. Read it. So back to my little story so that it'll be politically correct for everyone and they'll feel better about it. But even then, they won't feel better about it, but I'll do it anyway. If we know that foxes are coming into the hen house to potentially kill the hens, let's say we have some good foxes that maybe just decide, I'd rather have the eggs and not the hens. Okay? We're going to assume, without any other evidence, that the foxes are going to come in and get the hens. Okay? That's just what we have to assume. Because unless we want all of our hens destroyed based upon past behavior of foxes killing hens, of radical Islamists killing Christians and other people, then we're going to assume that we have to prevent the foxes from going in the hen house. Okay? And if you really want to look at it in the basest form, that's what Donald Trump was talking about. He wasn't talking about foxes and hens. He was talking about radical Islamists who are Muslims. Now, not all Muslims are Islamist radicalists, but all radical Islamists are Muslims. And do we have others in other religions and other political viewpoints that are radical? Yes, we do. But right now, that's not what we're talking about. So let's get off the political correctness and come back to what we were talking about. Now, Immediately, of course, the GOP, who doesn't want to see Donald Trump become the presidential nominee, came out in the form of Paul Ryan, who basically all along wants to have the Muslim refugees from Syria come here anyway because he's Catholic. And yes, Catholics bring in refugees into this country, Catholics in other organizations that get paid handsomely for bringing in these refugees. They get paid by the federal government to do so. So what does he do? He comes out, he slams Donald Trump for being anti-American, for not wanting to have Muslims come into this country until they are vetted properly. I mean, it is just too much to see these people, progressives on the right, progressives on the left, work their magic in trying to get their agenda pushed forward, regardless of what kind of lies, regardless of their agenda, whatever. To sit there and watch that is just unbelievable. And then, of course, we have Josh Earnest, who sits there in a presidential press conference and talks about Donald Trump and what he said. I mean, it was so planned. Somebody asked the question, and he already has this planned speech that he knows he's going to go into the moment he gets the opportunity. And he leaps into the opportunity and says, basically, oh, Donald Trump, did you hear what he said? So anti-American, so anti-First Amendment, so anti-religious beliefs that he cannot be president. Oh, my gosh, he's disqualified. And for all the Republican candidates who have come out in favor of him and support him as a presidential, nominee or a presidential candidate at this point, oh, my gosh, they can't be president either. And, of course, the only one who can be president, in their opinion, who can run for the president is Jeb Bush. So they want to just annihilate Donald Trump now and try to get him out of the race because he's too much of a threat to them. And I'm afraid that, many on the left and many on the right and the press, they're all going to fall for this progressive agenda. I've seen people posting all day about how, oh my gosh, you can't say that about Muslims because it's a violation of the First Amendment right to freedom of religion. Well, let me just tell you that for people who are refugees, who are not even in this country with their feet on our soil, they have no constitutional rights under the U.S. Constitution. Now, for those that are here, that are, let's say, children of illegal immigrants, we do give them certain rights under the Constitution, for example, allowing them to have an education in this country. But these refugees that Donald Trump is talking about aren't even here on our soil. They have no constitutional rights. And may I remind all of those people, whether you agree with what Donald Trump said or not, he is an American citizen. And he has a First Amendment right to speak his mind. Whatever he wants to say, as long as it doesn't incite violence. And just saying that those people who potentially may be terrorists shouldn't come here to the United States is not hate speech. It does not incite violence. It's politically incorrect, and you don't like it. Well, see, this is why we are in the position that we are in now. We have our country that is at risk, and we're not doing anything about it. Why? Because there is an agenda of the progressive left. For Josh Earnest to sit there and say, well, he's not qualified now to be president. Well, Mr. Earnest, let me ask you a question. You're going to tell me that somebody who passes one executive order after the other in violation of the Constitution is qualified to be president? Are you going to tell me that somebody who stands up and who does not protect the citizens of the United States against enemies foreign and domestic is qualified to be president of the United States? So let me just say, Josh Earnest, when you have a right to speak, as you did, there will be backlashes of people who say, come on. You have the audacity to say that after where we are right now in this country because we have an administration that is either afraid to or controlled by people with an agenda, and he goes along with it? Are you kidding me? Please, spare me. I've just about had it with people. Let's get back, again, please, people, let's get back to being rational, to having common sense. And for people who are not politically correct, it doesn't mean that we have to annihilate them, berate them, put them down because they said something that we don't like. Get over it. People have the right to say what they want to say. Again, whether you or I or anybody else agrees or disagrees with it. You know, we're so fast to go after Donald Trump, but do we go after the people on the campuses now who claim to belong to organizations like Black Lives Matter when they do things that call into question the illegality of something? We don't have anybody coming out and saying, oh my gosh, you know, let's stop that. That's not politically correct. That's illegal. That's this, that's that. No. We're silent about that. Because God forbid that somebody may think that you're a racist if you come out against actions that appear to be illegal or at least in question. No, we can't talk about that. We have to remain silent. And nobody seems to care. You know, when we had this shooting in Colorado Springs about, you know, the Planned Parenthood shooting. We can't even call it the location like we do San Bernardino. We call it the Planned Parenthood shooting. And we don't even know if it has any connection to Planned Parenthood. We still don't know that. We know a guy that appears to be very mentally ill has gone in to a building, and not where he started from, because when this all went down, he started from a building at a bank. And then ended up in the Planned Parenthood building and made a lot of ramblings, one of which included body parts, from what I understand. And he talked about Obama and many other ramblings that we haven't even been privy to because that's not the agenda. It doesn't fit the agenda, so let's not talk about it. Wake up. And I know people who are listening to this in my audience, you're already awake. And you're probably as tired of hearing all this as I am. But I'm telling you, we need to stand up for our constitutional rights. We need to stand up and protect this country against enemies, foreign and domestic, if our government is not willing to do that. And what do I mean by that? Do I mean taking illegal action? No. You know me better than that. I mean to legally stand up and demand, again, that the government do its minimal job to protect us, and that is to not allow any more refugees. I don't care if they're wherever they're coming from. Let's just stop them all right now until we figure out why this vetting process is not working. It's not about a religion. It's not about a this or a that. It's about potential terrorism coming into this country from anywhere. And as we know, there could be radical Islamists around the world. So let's just not make it from Syria. Let's make it from everywhere at this point. Let's stop terrorism or potential terrorism coming into this country until we have figured out how we can properly vet people. And for all of those who don't know, let me just tell you something. There is a deliberate exclusion of Christians from Syria coming into this country. Now, you tell me why that is. And I already know the answer. You already know the answer. Why are you only allowing in? You talk about, discrimination. They're so great at yelling discrimination. But you're only allowing in Muslim Syrian refugees and you're excluding the Christians. How come no one is talking about that? If you want to talk about discrimination, why is that not being discussed? So again, you want to come out and you want to say all of these things, but you're doing what you're accusing the right of doing there, Mr. or Ms. Progressive Left. So I'm tired of it. I know you're tired of it. Let's get back to some common sense and being rational in this country, and let's watch the country change for the better. Until next time, Susan Knowles with Knowles on the News.